What's happening right now is we are seeing a new earth awakening. People's consciousnesses are expanding, their thoughts are expanding, their perceptions of reality are shifting, their paradigms. It is a great split, and I've been shown it as like two earths coexisting. The old earth is under the web of matrix that we are separate from God, that we are separate from love. As people start to feel their life is getting crazier, or things are getting a bit more difficult per se, lonelier, harder, everything's amplifying. That is because we are having to rearrange these web of lies to rebirth that new planet that we wish to see. Their templates are awakening the more they choose to lean into a higher source and a higher power that this planet desperately needs. When you tune in and you ask yourself, like, what is my highest timeline? It's actually really freaking simple. You can be in love. It doesn't have to be this crazy, chaotic battlefield, and maybe that's the message that's meant to come through in 2026. There is a divine feminine face of Christ consciousness coming alive. We are not here to plant seeds. We are the seeds. I have literally shifted into a completely parallel reality where I'm in ecstasy and bliss every day, which is why I recommend doing these three things. Every single human has a template that we're ready to rebirth. So I think a lot of people who watch your podcast, who are questioning this world awakening, have come in with a template. And that is not the world that we see right now. And that's why so much people want evolution, they want change, they want transformation. And so our Earth, our planet, is going through this massive transitory stage where people are awakening to that template, to that blueprint. Whether it's a feeling, it's visual, it's a remembrance, it's an inkling to go do this or create this. But what's happening right now is we are seeing a new earth awakening. And a lot of people might dismiss that, because a lot of people I've spoken to who watch podcasts and they're in their own world of awakening, then go to their family member and they look at them like they're crazy and they're like, there's no global change happening. There's no global awakening. But what's happening is there is an expansion of consciousness, and technology has a huge part to play in that. And that's something I've been shown so much, because what's happening is we're in this digital age of so much information. So people's consciousnesses are expanding, their thoughts are expanding, their perceptions of reality are shifting, their paradigms. Because when we think back to how simplistic life used to be in medieval times, they were just killing each other. It was very primal. It was very like mind control. It was very like organized religion. It was very much contracted. So technology, I've been shown again and again, is actually just awakening the blueprint that every human has, which is to be a vehicle of change that they wish to see in the world. And every single person has a unique frequency or a unique signature. Like, nobody is the same. But what's happening with this transformation and people feeling like the world is getting crazier, it's actually just because that frequency is amping up in them to create the change that they wish to see. So it is a great split. And I've been shown it as like two earths coexisting. And so you can live in that quote unquote old earth, which continues in these old false paradigms, which are all an illusion, because the old earth is under the web of matrix that we are separate from God, that we are separate from love. Every single rule, entanglement of the matrix is a web of lies. And so as people start to awaken their hearts and their souls and their unique signature, their unique frequency, it's as if they're navigating these webs of lies with like a light torch, like a torch, and they're walking through and they're getting synchronicity and they're getting alignment to the next step and the next step. It's essentially trailblazing through the darkness. And so as people start to feel their life is getting crazier, or things are getting a bit more difficult per se, lonelier, harder, everything's amplifying. That is because we are having to rearrange these web of lies to rebirth that new planet that we wish to see. And that takes an individual journey. So everyone may feel they are on an individual journey, but I like to tell everyone that we are all connected. We're all not going to be alone forever. So that is what I see is happening on the planet right now. There is a new template being birthed in each person that decides to meditate, that decides to pray, that decides to connect. Their templates are awakening the more they choose to lean into a higher source and a higher power that this planet desperately needs.
It's really interesting, because I imagine the templates, I was going to try and get you to clarify, are these templates ones that we've come in with, or are they literally emerging on Earth right now and they're being vested into us? Can you describe a little bit more around these templates? Because what I'm hearing from you is actually there's a template for what's coming that we're carrying. Were they here with us already, or are they something that's being like a vestige that's being bestowed upon us as we're walking?
Yeah, no, we've had them from birth. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hear a lot of people, I'm just being shown a lot of people who are like, well, I only awakened 2 years ago and I was a mess as a teenager, all my 20s or my 30s. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense. The soul can lay dormant. So when I look into somebody's eyes, I see a soul in every human, you know, like it's not like I see that no one has a soul, but what I see it as is it's this like beacon of light that is like crumpled into like a piece of paper and it's been lodged into the corner of your shoulder or your left hip. Like it's so suppressed, but it's still there, right? And so when people are blasted open to a spiritual awakening, their soul energy, their soul signature is amplifying and it's expanding. And when they connect with God or pray or whatever they do in their spiritual practices, it's amplifying that light. That's why when you look at certain people, you can see light beaming out of their eyes. They're amplifying that, which is already there. But we come in with that signature. We come in with that blueprint because we are not here to plant seeds. We are the seeds. So us coming into this planet, we're here to root ourselves. We're here to plant ourselves, which are our unique signatures. And for every person, that's very, very different. But it's something that I truly believe and I've known in every cell of my being that I've had since the minute I was born. And it's not like this unique, book that's different to another person's book. It's very simplistic and it's an act of love. And every single human has a heart. Right? So that blueprint is in the heart. It's dormant in the heart for a lot of people with all the systems and all these paradigms and all these distractions that are blocking that signature from coming through. But it's very simple when people activate that signature because you'll feel it. And that's going to be your vehicle, your amplification for change to do the things that you're meant to do. But I definitely believe it is dormant in every single human. It's not something they need to seek or search outside of themselves. They just need to find it within themselves.
Is there a certain grandiosity to the interlocking of all the templates that is coming forward for the future? I mean, there are more people alive now than there's ever been on the planet that we're aware of.
Sorry, can you reframe that question for me?
Well, I'm saying because there's so many people that are alive right now and you're saying we're all coming in with these templates, I mean, it makes me wonder with all these templates coming together from each of the individuals, like maybe, I mean, there's a certain grandiosity to what's ahead potentially, or maybe the word grandiosity is wrong. Like maybe it's a major shift. Like there's more people alive than ever before. And you're saying we're coming through with these templates already seeded, ready for what's coming next. But there's also all these humans alive and there's already what's coming next. Like maybe there's a correlation between the two?
Totally. And I think that what I always rein back in is we're all from the same source. We're all from the same place. So it is just an amplification of every human coming together. That's a collective frequency. And so I do see there are certain people that are holding that collective frequency more than others, because when I walk around, it takes me 1 second to look at someone and I can feel their field. I can see everything in their field. And so for a lot of people, they are still entangled in karma. They're still entangled in all these past life things that they've brought through, all this pain, heartbreak. It's not like we're these perfected humans who are just amplifying this light and come in for this. But a lot of people are moving through a lot of that density. But there are certain people that are here to completely blast open for the collective frequency. So I'll give you an example. I move continuously all over the world. And whenever I move to a new country, I can hear the collective frequency. I can feel the collective frequency. So, for example, when I was in Los Angeles last year, I can literally feel in the collective all the thought forms that collective is holding and feeling. And it was very much about the self, very egoic, like how you're being perceived. And it was just very like a contracted, like insecure energy. And then I go to another country and I can feel the collective field is more amplified. So what we're really recognizing is like these collective fields are real. Every single country has a collective field, but there's specific people that are holding that light in that collective field to amplify it, to transmute it, which is why a lot of people right now feel they might be going a little bit crazy, is because the more they ascend their consciousness and the more they expand into light, the more they might look around and going, how the hell is no one seeing this? It feels like I've been in a washing machine, like railed around, you know what I mean? But essentially it's just people holding that light. So a lot of people might find it more intensely than others because if you think of everyone like as a brother and a sister, other people are just moving through the density. They're moving through the karma. They're moving through the lessons. Not one is better than the other, but there are specific souls that I believe have come in to purely hold that light, to be like a lighthouse for the planet, for the world, in whatever way that manifests. Me and my friends are all very similar on that mission, yet we're so innately different. Like we're so freaking different. Our personalities, our beliefs, but the core intention remains the same, which is that new blueprint, that new earth that we wish to see. So essentially that is going to ramp up more. It's going to be a heightened polarity because that's what needs to come into the light, because it's always been in the shadows.
Dare I put more projections on people, but I find just what I'm hearing from the community at large at the moment is people are feeling quite exhausted, quite worn out, quite tired. Are you seeing a bit of this? And what is that a symptom of?
Oh my God. I literally remember, I was 23 years old and thinking I had chronic fatigue for 2 years because I was so exhausted at such a young, ripe age. I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm feeling so much. It was so intense. I remember I was standing outside my apartment when I was living in Ireland, and there was like 100 windows to these apartments, and there was just one that was beaming light, and like salt lamps, plants, and everyone was just like a concrete jungle. And I was like, that's my apartment. I'm holding the light for this block right here every single day. I was like, no wonder. So I had to move out. But I so resonate with that, and it's real. But what I have come to the understanding of, and I think this is a very beautiful thing for a lot of people to receive, is the understanding that that actually doesn't have to happen anymore. That is an old paradigm. So a lot of the younger or the older light workers that came in, they're exhausted because they feel like they've been fighting their whole life. You know, they've been in medieval times in this realm of fighting paradigms, trying to like tell other people their side, and they're just exhausted. And they're like, I just give up. I don't want to help people anymore. I just want to be in my peace. The beautiful thing about that is that was the old way we were here to awaken. The new paradigm and the new blueprint that I've been shown many times is you can be in peace. You can be in love. It doesn't have to be this crazy, chaotic battlefield. And maybe that's the message that's meant to come through this year, especially for coming into 2026. Maybe that is the message, because I've been on both sides where I've been exhausted and tired, and it is draining, and it makes you just want to leave this planet. You're like, why am I here? This is really painful. This is really difficult. I remember always saying I never want to come back to Earth. Now I literally love Earth so much. I'm like, I want to stay here. I want to come back. So essentially, what I have downloaded in meditation many times is this 3-step sequel that I can guarantee you, if people try this every day, I can guarantee you their lives are going to turn into ecstasy and bliss. And this isn't like a false prophet of, like, this is your key to happiness. I genuinely mean this because I really resonate with the exhaustion, the tiredness. Again, I was Googling chronic fatigue for years, trying every herb. I was living such a beautiful life, and I was still exhausted. So I couldn't understand people in these like strong matrix webs who are working these jobs who are just absolutely, utterly drained. So there's 3 things that I was shown, and the first one is a plant ally. So for me, I love connecting to Rose. Rose is literally, in my opinion, the frequency of God. Like, it is the highest divine love I've ever experienced in my life. And it's what taught me love. It's what taught me how to love people. It's what taught me to receive love. It taught me so much. So essentially, if people wake up every morning and they do these 3 things, and it's fun. It's not like, oh, you have to go do an hour workout and that's exhausting. If you get an oil diffuser and you diffuse rose oil in your home, the first thing you do when you wake up, diffuse rose oil, and you start to connect to the spirit of Rose, and she's amplifying your entire home with this bathe of love frequency. They even say that Rose is the same frequency when you pass over to the spirit world or you go back to God. It's the same feeling. Even when I started connecting to rose oil many years ago, I literally felt like there was a bomb in my chest. I was like, am I gonna have a heart attack? Because the amount of love I was feeling was otherworldly. Up until that point, I thought it was just through a romantic relationship like the Disney movies. And then I realized the love was inside of me, and I was like, we've been lied to. And even my surname is Rose. I have a rose on my Ringrose, because I feel like I'm such a rep for Rose. And if people connect to the Rose, diffuse. And then the second thing is I go make ceremonial cacao every morning. Ceremonial cacao is a tree, a plant that is deeply connected to love. And they used to call it food of the gods because it was more valuable than gold. It was more valuable. It was used as currency, as money. But it was basically bursting people's hearts open to love, that they literally thought it was God in food form. And so every morning I make me and my dear sister, or she makes it for me, who I live with, cacao. And I put rose powder, I put all these different things. I can send you a recipe and you can put it down below. But essentially I make that every morning, and I connect to the rose or the cacao, and I start drinking that, going back up to my room, and I blast loving music, whether that's Christian music, which literally burst my heart open so much. I can even put my playlist down below, like, dear goodness. If you do this, no, I'm being dead serious. If you do this 3-step thing, diffusing rose oil, drinking cacao, and listening to this God-based, heart-based, love-based music, you remember why the hell you're here. And I have witnessed myself, because this is me being brutally honest, the past couple months have been the hardest months of my life. And doing this ritual, I have literally shifted into a completely parallel reality where I'm in ecstasy and bliss every day. I've never experienced more peace in my life. And I feel I was moved through that timeline to really witness, oh my God, we don't have to do it this way. We do not have to be suffering. We do not have to be in pain, because there can be an addiction to that, right? The more worthy I am, the more I experience this pain, the more it's kind of like this victim consciousness, like deep in your root, that you think that you are more blessed if you're suffering more, like, oh, poor me. And it's not valid anymore in this new planet. It's not helpful for us to feel sorry for ourselves, to patronize ourselves, because on some level we are in that helplessness mentality, which I was in for years. But when you actually say, no, I'm going to love you, I'm going to care for you, I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader, I'm going to be rooting for you, and you do these steps, you're rewiring your whole coding. You're rewiring your whole template. Me connecting to the rose every day and connecting to the plant ally and connecting to cacao and connecting to this music of other people amplifying this feeling, it's literally as if my whole DNA is rewiring. It's rechanging. I'm a completely different human to who I was a week ago, yesterday. It is recoding every single fiber of my being. It gets to be simple. It gets to be easy. It doesn't have to be like you putting your hand in your nose and holding an incense stick and chanting and, like, you know, on one leg and all this complicated like tasks. It gets to be simple. And so I do that every morning. I also love grounding and connecting. I go to the beach every morning. I know that's not accessible for a lot of people, but if you do that 3-step routine, I can guarantee you your heart will burst open and your blueprint will be revealed. I even see it, like, I've always had visions of people who are like truck drivers or working in a warehouse. Like, I say, use every opportunity you can to bring God into your life, to bring love into your life. So when I see people driving to work, put beautiful music on, like gospel music truly can awaken your heart. I put that on, have oils diffusing in the car, like breathe, get fresh air in. Just because everyone else is in this icky matrix of like so much like negativity and fear and shame doesn't mean you have to submit to that. Okay. And that's the hardest thing for light workers to do, is to stand out in their light, right? They want to blend in. They want to feel like they are part of the tribe, which is a very organic desire. But if you can truly increment like the divine into every beacon of your life, that is what truly can transform your world and amplify the frequency. Because you truly are here to have a blast. You are here to have joy. And if you haven't up until that point, making peace with that, and then asking yourself, do I want to continue this paradigm? Because of a lot of the time, it can actually be addiction. And I say that from me, who was addicted to pain. I was addicted to suffering. I was addicted to being the victim. And so that is essentially what this New Earth template is. It's realizing there is two in everything. Every single thing we are doing, we are in contract with. So when I'm connecting with Rose, I'm making a contract with that. When I'm drinking cacao, I'm in a contract with that. I'm in communion, in union with that. And so the old earth is basically one, ego, a disconnection to God or a higher power, higher self, whatever you want to say in your own terms. I just use God because it feels resonant to my soul, but it's whatever people feel. When you start to remember God is alive in every cell of your being, it is alive, it is looking after you, it is loving you. You are in communion with that force every moment of every day. It's not about you anymore. When you're putting on the music, you're doing this with that higher force. When you're going to work, you're doing it with this higher force. You're not alone. And so with what technology is doing is it's pushing us into this left paradigm of feeling more alone, right? All these dating apps, people, relationships are crumbling. People are feeling lonelier than ever. And then the swing of that is community-based, which is what I see the New Earth moving into. But what we're meant to do is meet in the middle, which is actually accessing that we've never been alone. And if there's one thing that I keep hearing whenever I prayed, from the minute I went through my spiritual awakening many years ago, it was, you are never alone. It makes me giggle and laugh, because I will hear my guides, I'll hear my angels, especially when I did psychic readings for years. Their guides and God and divine are bursting out laughing. That it's like comical that this matrix has forgotten so deeply that we think we're alone, that they find it comical, like so comical. They're like, that is ridiculously hilarious. I'm so sorry you believe that paradigm, you know? So when I remembered that and remember that divine essence within me, every single thing I'm doing is in communion with another force. It is in communion with a loving guidance. And that is the understanding that we are two. we're not one. So when I'm speaking to others, there's three in the conversation. You're speaking to one person, it's the divine with us. You were never alone. And carrying that force with you, which is why I recommend doing that 3 little thing for the morning routine, that truly will transform this new template that wants to come online, that wants to come onto the earth, which is people remembering there is a greater force, because that is what has happened to the matrix. It is a web of lies that we have been disconnected from it from the start. And that is what has got us here.
Inspired souls, thank you so much to all of you that are subscribed to this channel. Everything you see around here is powered and empowered by your subscription to the channel. Thank you so much for your incredible love and your support. To all of you that haven't yet subscribed, please do take a moment. As I'm saying the word subscribe, the button below is lighting up in the colors of the Inspired Evolution. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon. Episodes like this coming out twice a week to support you on your journey onwards, upwards, and inwards. Thank you so much in advance for your support. And from a place of deep, heartfelt gratitude, we recently hit 250,000 subscribers on this channel. Thank you guys so much. In order to celebrate, we're giving away free access to our Circle community online. You can join us for 2 weeks using the link on screen here now and also in the description below. So join us in the Circle community. Every month, guests come on like Ella, where you can ask your questions directly of the guest as the audience members. No more me. And once a week, we guide meditations together. Well, there's community offerings in there. We do Q&As. There's gathering spaces. All sorts of cool things are happening on the Inspired Evolution Circle. So come on, join us using the link below. You've got nothing to lose. Just lots of brothers and sisters and family to connect with. Go on, we'll see you in there. Back to the episode. The not being alone piece is really profound, because our last episode that we had on the podcast went absolutely gangbusters, and you were teaching us how to call in angels, and people were just like, there was such a thirst and a hunger for that support, that that guidance that was just available. And I think just the permission that you gave for all of us to just connect in, call in for support. And, I think the comments on that particular video, I mean, for those that haven't tuned in, highly recommend go checking it out. But it really left such an impression on me in terms of just how easy support, we are never alone, to your point, right? You did mention that the last 3 months were some of the hardest months of your life as well. Do you mind me asking about that a little bit?
Yeah, just karmic entanglement. I moved into a home that I thought was my dream home and paid it all up front and moved everything. I had to hire multiple movers. And then the minute I moved in, it's a whole long story, but there was mold in every corner of the home, which is really dangerous. And I grew up in a mold-infested home. I grew up very ill in my home. Our whole family did, but we couldn't move out. We didn't have a choice. And so it was literally as if I was reliving my worst nightmare, which was living in a home that I can't escape. So it was just reliving my deepest fears, which is you start to hallucinate. You start to think you're going psychotic. I started getting really depressed because mold literally makes you feel insane. I couldn't think. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. And I felt deeply alone. And so I remember one day I went out to the garden because I was spending more time outside than in this home. And I started crying, looking at the trees and just praying. And I literally just felt this wave of love come over me. And it was this moment of going, you have tried to do everything alone your whole life up until that point, even though I was like speaking about all this, that I heard the divine say, I had to put you in a situation where you felt so helpless to finally ask for permission for help in that deepest level. And so I got this tattoo saying receive in pink ink, because I'm a pinky girl. But in that moment, I said, I surrender fully to you. And up until this point, I had done like 40 house viewings. I had looked at about 2 hours a day searching for home. Like I was psychotic, trying to do it all alone. And so God was like, no one's meant to do it alone. You've been trying to force and control and be an ego. And to that moment, I said, I surrender. I let you fully take over. I'm not going to think about a single thing now. And literally that moment, everything just bada boom aligned, moved into a new home the next week, dream house. My sister moved to Bali. We live together now. We have a beautiful life. Like, it was like such a quantum shift. Now that's like one angle. There was multiple other personal things that sort of happened, relationships, entanglements, all that sort of stuff. But like in the moment, I was like, I have no idea why all this is happening. It felt like everything around me was collapsing. And it was that moment for me realizing I had to go through all that to realize God is alive, because I had kind of just let myself be in peace on the path. And it was this remembrance that actually we are not alone. We can ask for that support. So I had to go so far away from that and try and do it all on my own to realize that was the greatest gift. And this is something that I think men, but mainly women, they actually have this gift specifically. I truly, truly believe women were designed to be in surrendered states. And what I mean by that is when women fully surrender their vessel and their being to a greater force of light and love, life gets taken care of. And that is what the man is here to contain and hold for that woman. And I was shown so many templates of divine relationships and union and how that works. But essentially, the more men and women can practice this greater understanding of giving everything up to a higher source, a higher power, allowing that to look after you and take care of you, the miracles are miraculous. And they cannot be explained by the human mind. I mean, a scientist could go in and say, this is quantum physics, and this is because, all and like all of that. And I'm like, cool. But, at the end of the day, it is divine miracles pulsing through your being when you fully allow that to rearrange. And so I had to go so far away. I was driving hours every day doing house viewings. I was a psycho, looking like I was forcing because I didn't trust. I didn't trust. I was like, I have to do this or else no one else will. And on some levels, yes, we have to, because if you want to build a business, you're going to have to be the one to build it. So it's not like pushing that narrative, but it's more understanding there's a middle ground. Can you let God look after you? Can you let this higher force look after you through you? Because the problem with it is in the planet right now is people don't believe because of how sick and twisted the world is. And it's so valid, right? When we look around, let's say you're someone in a home and you're in debt and you aren't in love with your partner and you feel so suffocated, you hate your job, you only go to the bars on the weekend to kind of escape. It's like, well, of course I don't feel like any support is around me. Look at the way my life is materialized. Look at the way it's manifested. And that's like a beautiful invitation to allow your signature to come online, to allow your divine guidance to come online, because that's where everything starts to be rearranged. Because the logic will go, oh God, I need to cut out all this. No, when I dropped out of school at 17 and I was very unhappy in my friend group, I didn't go, okay, I need to clear all my friendships. I just surrendered to a higher force and heard these whispers, let go of this person, move here, do this thing, try this, start this YouTube channel. I think I said in a previous podcast, I was sitting at the back of math class at 17 years old and I heard the voice of the divine tell me to drop out of school. And that was the best decision I ever made because I was so depressed up until that point. I was so miserable. I was crying, bawling, crying for an hour before school every day, even holding my bed frame, and my mom would have to pull me by the legs to try and get me to go to school because I hated it so much. That didn't come from Ella. That didn't come from my mind trying to solve the problem, trying to fix my reality or trying to figure it all out. That came from a loving essence that wanted to guide me. And luckily for myself, I have these psychic abilities. I can see things a lot clearer, but I understand a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't have that reassurance or that guidance or any of that. And those are the people that I truly ask to lean in and trust even more. Because in that moment when I was in this home, I was like, this is genuinely the hardest time. I felt so sick. I was hallucinating. I couldn't see straight. I couldn't think straight. I was the deepest depression I'd ever been. And at the time, I just kept saying, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And now in the situation I'm in, I'm like, thank God that happened. That gave me the greatest lesson, the greatest gift. And so for people who feel like they are literally in the pits of not knowing, I don't recommend you make a plan to get out of it. I recommend you implement that little morning routine, or you implement some space to allow the divine to speak with you and commune with you to realize you are never alone, because you don't have to do it alone. And we're living in a very individualistic society, right? We do everything alone. And so if you can implement that, that's a lot of support. That's beautiful. I don't feel like I run a business by myself. I run it with God and God shows me what to do every day, and that support of the plant allies, the cacao, has truly facilitated so much growth and so much transformation. So it's funny because that belief system's not feeding the paradigm of I have to do it alone, because we're taught to struggle. We're taught it has to be hard. We have to do grit. I don't believe in that paradigm anymore. And people may say my head is in the clouds. I'm like a fairy, but I have been shown again and again how dramatically transformational it can be when you fully surrender that force.
There's a real deep nuance here, which you're shedding light on, which actually splits things open quite wide. I just want to take a moment to speak to it if I can myself, because what's coming through is, or what I'm hearing is, there's actually this shadow side of empowerment. And it's probably because at a certain point you have empowerment, it helps you, like, you step out of victim and you step into like, hey, I'm the creator of my reality, my universe, touch wood, right? And it's really beautiful because so much ownership and responsibility kicks in at that point that you actually start creating shift and change. But it's almost that old narrative of what got me here is not what will get me there, right? And so what I'm hearing is, especially you see this in spiritual circles, like someone does something to you, someone gaslights you, someone does something, like someone impacts you, someone inflicts something upon you, and it's like, why did I call that in? You know, it's like this consistent overlayered like levels of responsibility, which is incredibly empowering. But then also the shadow side of that is if you keep down that path for overly long periods of time, you do end up isolated because it's, again, you creating your own individualistic reality overly, and then there's this symbiosis that's actually happening with the world and the divine around you. And I think that's a really important point to speak to, which is what you've just done, which is like, yeah, that's just really landing for me in terms of even self-empowerment. Like there is a point at which, like you've just said, the opportunity to surrender, right? To just remember that you're in connection and support. I think there's toxicity of empowerment.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm struggling to find the words to explain it clearly, but yeah, I think that's what's being shed light on here.
And I want to add to that as well, because I've experienced that for many years, you know, in spiritual circles. Like, if I'm being brutally honest, I don't even consider myself a spiritual person. You know, I don't consider myself part of that world, because I think with what you're saying of like questioning, okay, there's a lot of gaslighting that can happen in that world and manipulation, and it can be very dangerous for people to project like, oh, well, you called this in, what was it part of me, and blaming yourself. It's a real like I'm alone mentality and I have to figure this all out myself. And what I would always ask to people is like, where are you trying to get to? You know, like when we're in that space of, okay, I called it in, so I'll heal this part and then I'll realign and I'll move into a new timeline. And it's like, it's just like this constant trying to get somewhere, like besides where you are now. And I think when I connected to so much people for years on psychic readings and looking at their fields, they're just exhausted because they've been fed this illusion and this lie that they need to get somewhere, and that they can continue to heal and empower and to move into this greater timeline. And I'm all about getting into your highest timeline. Like, I don't want to disregard that. But it's this feeling like you're never doing enough. Like, oh, there's a full moon, you need to do something now, or else, you know, you won't amplify the great powers that are coming. It's exhausting, and it's like a hamster wheel for a lot of people. And that's what Rose and the cacao and just listening to God taught me, is like, it's here right now. There's nowhere to get to. There's nothing we need to heal. There's nothing we need to fix. That is old paradigms. And it really rings tight on what you're saying of like, what got you here now is not what's going to get you there. And that's really hard for people to understand. And like, if I'm being so brutally honest, like, I don't read books, and I haven't read books for years because meditation is my book. A lot of the books that were written many years ago don't resonate with the frequency field we're in, because they were in that time frame, and now we're in a new timeline. And so for a lot of people who are teaching textbook material, they're teaching things from the past. Yes, there's beauty in them, you know, but on another level, in this present moment, you need to ask yourself, what is alive right now that supports and amplifies me? And so this was a pattern I had for years. I'm sure you had it for years, even in business. You know, oh, well, this worked for me 4 years ago, so maybe you were dissociated then. Maybe you were in fight or flight. Maybe you were, you know, in a completely different character of strength that you are now. And maybe you've blossomed and bloomed into a lighter person, a softer person, or a more aggressive person. Whatever it is, you know, it's really asking yourself what is needed now. Which is comical, because again, it's that web that you were saying of feeling like you need to empower and to change and do it all on your own. It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And I know a lot of people, I know myself, we hit burnout really deeply. Like, I had to like stop YouTube for a while because I was so burnt out of trying to like, you know, do it all. And it came to the resolution of like, there's nowhere to get to, there's nowhere to be. It's just, it just is. It's all here. It's all present. There's nothing to wait for anymore. God is alive now. And that routine is what's been giving me that freedom.
This podcast is brought to you by my one-to-one mentorship. The podcast is designed to inspire your evolution onwards, upwards, and inwards. And if you're ready to dive in even deeper and evolve your career, your leadership, and business in a conscious direction, and you believe that alignment to your purpose and your soul's direction is the only way to truly thrive into your highest potential, and right now you can feel that guidance, mentoring, and coaching would be of support, then my one-to-one mentorship coupled with our incredible conscious group masterminds is here for you. Thousands of people have evolved through my mentoring over the last 10 years. It is, after all, my highest calling, and here's what they have to say about how it's transformed their life.
It's a blend of what I would call hustle and magic.
I really felt like a brother who I could reach out to when I was in need.
Suddenly things take least effort and I see multiple opportunities.
He's not sugarcoating, he's not looking at things with rosy glasses. He asks the hard questions which we need to have asked.
He made me feel like there's someone who believes in me. That connection is much more profound than just being coached.
If you truly believe in the potential that you have as a human being, you would definitely invest in coaching.
So if you're ready to dive in even deeper to take your inspirations and truly evolve, then make your way over to my website at amritsandhu.com. I'll put a link in the description below. You don't have to go it alone. There's one-to-one mentoring and an incredible community mastermind of conscious leaders, entrepreneurs, and people transforming their careers and business into full alignment with their soul's highest calling, creating a life that inspires them on the deepest level, living into their greatest impact. And as many of you know, connection is my highest value, so I'm looking forward to connecting with you. Use the button below, use the link below, amritsandhu.com/call. That's AMRIT, Sandhu, SANDHU.com/call. It's on screen for you now. And if you follow that link, you'll be able to book in a call directly with me. I'm looking forward to connecting with you. So go on, I'll see you there. It's really interesting because what I'm hearing in there as well is you and I are both fan of the Gene Keys and the Pearl sequence, if I can bring us to there for a moment, is this sequence of your prosperity. And then you've got, and then in the heart of the Pearl sequence, there's like a triangle, and in the middle, there's your Pearl. And for those that don't have context to this, I've been diving really deep in this with my clients recently. So pardon me if I'm losing some context, but you've got basically your vocation, which one of the things I love about the Gene Keys is like that's also your core wound. Like it's perfect for conscious entrepreneurs, right? Like building a vocation around your core wound. Then you've got the culture that emanates from all of that in the world around you. And then you've got your life's work and how it's received by the world. And the thing is, in between there, like in the heart of that triangle is your pearl. But Richard doesn't teach as much as he used to in the Gene Keys. It's now other people are teaching. But I remember when he was teaching like 7 years ago, he would say, you don't really focus on the pearl. You just sort of leave it alone. It's almost like taboo. You don't look at it, but you know what it is, but you don't look at it. And you just focus on the three things that you can focus on: the vocation, the culture, and your life's work. And if you're doing them solidly enough, then the pearl just naturally, like the flower, the rose kind of opens up and, you know, leaves you its scent, and the pearl is kind of the scent that gets left behind. It's like, it's nice to know that that's there, but you can't actually actively focus on it because if you're trying to pull out the scent, you're hurting the flower almost. And it was interesting because as you were mentioning the sort of highest timeline piece, but then also like coming back to rest, I felt that sort of kinship in that teaching in terms of allowing yourself to just come back into, you know, rest actually opens you up naturally to your highest timeline. Am I making sense, or am I completely off with the rails here?
Totally, because this global awakening that is happening is remembering we're Earth and we're multidimensional beings. We're navigating two entities within the being, you know, the Earth and the soul. And Earth literally teaches us that, you know, like you have to water the roots, you have to feed yourself, nourish yourself for it to bloom and grow, and petals fall off, and you have to be okay with letting them die and then allowing them to rebirth again and again. And I was being shown a visual just kind of with what you were saying of like maybe something rung really true for you many years ago and now it doesn't. There's a piece that I think is really beautiful for people who are on this path is to let go of everything that served them then that doesn't serve them now, because I was shown this visual of it. It's like you're trying to drag along like all your old clothes from like 10 years ago, and like you're bringing every single piece of your life with you. Like I need to, you know, and it's okay to let things go. I always say this and I always use this analogy, but it's like, you know, if you were a tree, you wouldn't go super gluing the autumn leaves back on and go like, I need to, you know, like you wouldn't do that. You would trust that new things will rebirth. And so in the face of death, which is this whole life, you know, there's death, birth, death, and time. Time is what equates to death. So it's like if we just allow things to die and trust and let go and stop having our fists so clenched, that's what makes space for new opportunities, new paradigms, and new things to come through. And all of it's correct. All of it's right. Everything that rung true from you 10 years ago is correct in that moment of time. Things that ring true for you now. And even if you demonize what you did 10 years ago, that's correct now because it's your valid human experience. So that's something that I think is really beneficial, is just like the piece of letting go. And then again, the trust element of trusting a higher source knows more, trusting a higher power it knows better than you. I kind of always share it as this, I'm just being shown this vision of like the earth, and there's like these grids above, energetic grids, and then there's a higher force looking over these grids. You know, our human minds are so contracted in what we can truly see from a heightened perspective that when you look at this higher divine force of love, it's rearranging things 24/7 all the time. And I'm going to send you a video maybe to put in the description, because this was something that rung true for me many months ago when I watched this video, and it still is just kind of coming through now. Is like this woman who had a near-death experience, and she saw the power of prayer on the other side and the power that can have. And what I'm being shown right now is this grid on the planet of every single soul's beacon of light, because I see souls as like pillars of light. Like my spiritual awakening started, I remember the day so viscerally. I was in a forest and I felt my torch. Like I felt my beacon of light was like shooting up into the ether for miles, you know, and everyone has their own pillar, and there can be energies that intertwine with that, soul ties, soul drop-ins, all of that. But essentially all these grids are connecting to the same grid up in a higher force. And so when you pray, you're literally clearing that tube. It's like you're cleaning it and clearing it and amplifying right to the creator, right to the direct source. And in this video, I'd recommend people watch it. You know, it's basically, she was being shown the people that prayed with true conviction and true love in their heart and truly believing, you know, what they were saying, and the power and the amplification of that light was so strong. And then she saw these like washy little tiny little orbs that were like, you know, like scattered and not really strong. And it was purity from self. It was purity from mind. There was no element of faith with it. And, you know, this is something that people say for ages. If you pray with conviction, if you pray with your heart, it's even in the Bible, you know, you pray with the belief in your soul and your heart that there is something out there listening to you, a higher, greater love. You can feel that. So the moment I start to pray and I'm really in that state, my heart bursts open. So I can feel when it's out of alignment because nothing happens. And then I can feel when, you know, it does. But that's something that really people can use to realign their human grids, their lives, and what's being created in their fields.
Yeah, one of the sweet takeaways that I got from Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind was just the clarity of thought. Like it's just one of those obvious takeaways when it's like penny drops. It's like, I mean, not what you were saying was obvious. Sorry, it was more he goes, you're never clearer than when you're praying. Like you never sit there for a prayer and kind of go, oh yeah, and then you know, it's always just like, dear God,
yeah, how are you doing?
My mum
yeah
needs a bit of love. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Amen. You know, it's just so clear. It's like your mind is never clearer than when you're actually, you know, it's just like, it just really brings it into you mentioned time. I mean, it's Ella. So I wanted to, you said that we're actually pulsing at the moment with billions of timelines. And I mean, yeah, I wanted to try and ground that into some context. What timeline are we actually on right now? Are we in the middle of a bifurcation? Is the timeline already splitting? I'd love to get your insights into this space. Yeah.
So this is a beautiful question, because old me would have answered differently to the way I speak. I would speak now, because before what I'm being shown is a lot of people have a vision of how they want the world to go, and they take that on as their responsibility. So it's like, okay, well, this is the planet I want to see. So like, I need to create this, and it's a lot of pressure. So if you take all the pressure off and you actually understand that everyone is responsible for their own timelines, that, you know, no one else's timeline is to do with you, and you fully tune into your highest timeline. Like, what is your highest timeline looking like? That takes off the pressure. Because I'll share a story real briefly. Like when I lived in Bali many years ago, I think it was like 2 years ago now, I remember thinking, because I downloaded the template and I could see what this new earth could look like, I genuinely took it on as my responsibility that I was going to create it. And I'm not undermining that when I say that. Like, I literally was like, okay, I'm responsible for every single human on this planet. I'm going to have to like preach to every human. I was like, I'm going to have to, you know, have billions of views. Like I'm going to have to tell everyone. And whenever I would see anyone on the road who was smoking a cigarette or like, you know, trying or doing something that like felt like, you know, whatever, stealing, I was like, oh God, I have so much people to help. I'm responsible for this person and this person. I was trying to be God for everyone. And that was something a lot of people can fall into, is trying to be God for others. And so I started falling into all these shadows of helping so much people, funding so much people, giving so much to people, wanting to be their savior, wanting to be God for them because I just love them. And then I realized that why do I not trust that God is looking after everyone? So I flipped it and I realized that God is looking after everyone. That is not my responsibility. I can only look after myself. And actually, in the looking after myself, I'm able to impact more people because I'm truly letting God look after me. And so essentially, when people, you know, are trying to think of this timeline we're headed as a collective, it's them taking on that deep responsibility. And that can disable and paralyze the body, because that's what happened to me. I got really sick from this pressure that I was feeling. Like my body shut down because I had so much stress and adrenaline through my body of feeling I needed to do it all. So I had to be brought to my knees to kind of be reborn in the ashes of the phoenix, to realize that it was never my responsibility in the first place. And it felt valid at the time. But what I say to people is, your highest timeline is between you and whatever your higher source is, whatever you like to call that, whatever you feel that is. You know, that, and for some people who are atheists, it might be their feet. You know, when I say God, I'm not like implying that they need to think there's a man in the sky. I think that's what caused so much chaos in the first place. If you feel like, you know, your roots of your being are God, let that be, you know? But when you tune in and you ask yourself, like, what is my highest timeline? It's actually really freaking simple. And it's, how can I live in more love? How can I, because you're basically moving out of this goal-oriented base of what this will look like. And instead you're somatically moving into, how can this feel? How can I transmute this? Because what happened to the planet that thus far is not from visuals, it's from feeling. People have completely misaligned with what is truth. And so they're in these chaoses and these weird situations because they're misaligned with what truth is to them. So if we can let go of the idea that we're moving towards this one vision and we amplify our highest timeline and what that looks like, and that can be through meditation, it can be through dance, it can through connection to your heart, whatever that looks like, meditation, letting yourself see the blueprint that is for you, that is actually what's going to create this new earth. That's what's going to create the amplified change, right? So for me, I had to kind of go on both sides to experience both sides, because it's always changing, and kind of come to the center point of what feels alive for me, what feels good for me. Is that having pink light bulbs in my room because it makes me happier, you know, and doing that. And that feels like my highest timeline to me. I like to go to the beach in the morning. I drive a pink motorcycle. I know that's kind of crazy, but like I literally bring such joy when I go driving every day. I asked God, what is my highest time? And I was shown this vision of a pink motorcycle, and I was like, it's a bit weird, a bit random, but it brings me joy. And through that, I get these ideas, and then I share them with people. I want to help people because it's from a place of, I'm overfilled in my cup with joy, with abundance, because I'm not doing it alone anymore. So I would ask people and invite people to really ask, what does their highest timeline look like? Like truly in your heart of hearts, your soul of soul, what does that look like? Not what people are telling you, not what people are influencing you, because right now we're in an epidemic of clones. You know, we look around, everyone looks the same, everyone's thinking the same, everyone's dressing the same. Really ask yourself, is this my divine blueprint? Is this my divine origin? And yes, there's an element of learning from people and receiving teachings, but what I think is the most powerful is a guide that can guide you back to you and you seeing that divine blueprint. So for me, I love rose. Someone might like blue lotus. Someone might hate rose. You know, I used to hate the smell of roses, you know? So it's really asking yourself, what does your highest timeline look like? How does it feel? And start to rearrange your space to reflect that. And I think that's something people undermine a lot. They think that they need to do all these practices. I think that if you create a space in your environment, your home, that reflects your heart, your life will dramatically shift. That's why rose oil, cacao, these are external things. They bring amplification in your body to bring ideas. You know, it's not about, okay, what practices can I do? Like, you know, changing your home, changing your bedspread, getting a plant. Like it can be as simple as that. That brings this new frequency in of new opportunity, new possibilities, because people are so stuck in this way of being that they don't know how to shift and change their template. They don't know how to waken it up. You know, I look at a lot of people who have lived the same life for 40 years, nothing's changed. And it's like, well, how do you change that? It's not going to be through drilling them with belief, you know, work. It's okay, maybe get rose oil, it might awaken something in you. Drink cacao, it might awaken something in you, you know? It's about changing your environment so that you start to be recoded. And I've seen this again and again with friends, with sisters, with relationships, like the recoding before my very eyes. Simply even having a loving conversation, you know, loving someone. I have seen men like heal from like a woman's love, like from like pure divine love, like they're rebirthed as a new man, and they're such a vehicle for transformation and change in this world. And that like speaks really dearly to me. You know, like if you can witness that people can recode, they do have potential. And I think that's a cycle evolution we're all on. You know, we can change. You know, who we were 10 years ago is not the same. Now, I'm thinking of like people who, you know, a lot of people who aren't on this path. Yes, you might have to, you might have had to cut out toxic people because they won't recognize the part they had to play in it. But when you are around people who are on this state of soul evolution, you know, it's a beautiful process, because I was entangled in a lot of karmic relationships these past couple months with friends. And okay, I'll give you an example with one of my friends. We lived together and we were like sisters, soul sisters, love her to death. And what was happening, because we're on both a soul evolution, there was a karmic energy between us of we were playing out like our parents' dynamics within each other and like wanting to help each other. Like it was just kind of a messy. And because we both are on that path of soul evolution, we could recognize the dynamic, the play that was playing out with us. We were both able to clear it. Now our friendship is like so much more fruitful and alive because we were able to like recognize, what is this chord? What is this, you know, game we're playing out with each other, become aware of it and clear it. And I've witnessed this in so many dynamics in my life, you know, of both of us evolving and changing as humans, and that relationship is genuinely fruitful. It's genuinely abundant. It's genuinely loving. It's really enriched. And so I've been shown specifically the past 6 months before my very eyes, transformation of people, like deep transformation, like people were friends with. I was living with a girl in Bali 2 years ago, and she went to India and did like 8 months of Vipassana and meditated and completely cleared so much in her field. And when I saw her, I was like, I've never, and I'm not even just saying this, I've never seen more light radiate out of someone's eyes than this woman. Like she was a different human. I was like, I didn't recognize her. The amount of light pouring out of her being, because you can see everything in the eyes, you know. It was this witnessing again of transformation, of evolution. When you work with the creator, when you work with the higher force loving you, like the transformation, the miracles are endless. They're real. They're there. And I have belief and faith in every human on planet Earth that can undergo these transformations or these psychic surgeries to awaken and move into new timelines of new ways of being, new creation. I don't believe our lives are set in stone. I don't fully believe in the old paradigm that every single thing in our life is panned out. I genuinely believe we are rewriting our contracts 24/7 by what we're engaging in. And that's really important for me to express, because I think a lot of people, especially the older generation, have this belief that everything is set in stone. It's already written out. So, you know, I can't change anything. I believe quite the opposite. I think we are in full, I don't want to say control, but we are in full creation mode with the creator to surrender to more possibilities, more opportunity. And I've always been given more than I thought I could ask for. You know, like every time I tried to manifest something and visualize the way it was going to be, it was always actually diminishing the dream that actually wanted to come through, because I was dreaming so small. So I think that sometimes gives people a permission slip to dream smaller, because they're basically dreaming from their wounds. They're dreaming from their beliefs, their subconscious, their experiences, their whole life. So it's too dangerous to play in the realm of infinite possibility, of more expanded opportunity. And it'll trigger a lot of people because they think, oh, well, you know, that's too good to be true. And I genuinely feel that's not the case, you know? So I think allowing yourself to expand beyond the perceptions of your mind and your soul and what you think. And this is something I've experienced with a lot of men that I speak to, you know, of manifesting their dream partner. And it's very logical and it's very like, I want this person to be this. And then they get that person and they feel nothing in their being, you know, and instead I always invite them to tune into their hearts and what does this person feel like, and allowing the love that they want to experience with this person, that they'll be able to find these people. I was giving a reading to a dear friend the other day, and I was seeing like, it's as if he was in a nightclub, like searching through hundreds of people and wasting so much time logically being like, okay, I want this person, this person. And I was shown this visual of like, if he just opened his heart, there's one woman in that, I don't want to say the nightclub, but this was the visual I was shown. There was this one woman in this nightclub radiating the same frequency in her heart, and that's how they match. So going back to it, I think highest timeline comes from feeling your highest timeline, not what it necessarily looks like. I know a lot of people, I'm just being kind of brought the visual of Robin Sharma, you know, of getting a Ferrari because he thought it was going to bring him happiness, and then he sold it because it didn't do much. I've been there, you know, you get everything physically that you want and it doesn't amplify something within you. And that's why, you know, most people are unhappy. It's why a lot of people are living these lives because society told them and lied to them that that was what was going to bring them true happiness. And that's a web a lot of people get caught in, but they're caught in this primal mentality of I want to fit in with the tribe. So let me like max out my debt and get the better car because it looks better. And yet inside they're freaking out. And this is such a visual for the new planet that we're on, is like, yeah, we put like, okay, I'll give you an example. I found my dream home in Bali, but underneath this, it was beautiful. It was like rainforest. I had cacao trees in my garden. I had coconut trees. I had papaya trees. It was like overlooking rice fields. And it was physically, aesthetically perfect. And the lesson was, but underneath the walls, it was rotting. It was moldy. It was deteriorating my health. It was making me sick from the inside out. And that's an example of what we're seeing in the world, is all these people that look happy and they're, you know, have these, you know, sets on, or like I always use the example because I'm in Bali, it's a very like aesthetic place. You know, everyone's wearing like perfect gym sets. You know, they've got their nails done. They look, you know, aesthetically perfect. And all it takes is me looking in someone's eyes for 2 seconds and I feel so much sadness in their field. I feel so much loneliness in their field, because when I look at people, I believe the souls are in the eyes. And that's why I'm obsessed with eyes, because it's the only thing that doesn't age. Is like when you see, how I see it is like light comes out about 1 meter and then it whoops around, and that's the aura. So when I look at people, I'm feeling their soul before I even see the physicalness of them. And so when I look at most people who are in these realities that society has told them is what will bring them happiness, climbing the corporate ladder, living in a place that looks good physically, and it takes a second for me to just feel their field and realize they're deeply unhappy, they're deeply miserable. And I was saying this to my friend, I genuinely believe that a lot of people aren't even aware that they're unhappy. I genuinely think that a lot of society isn't aware that they're not happy, because they're so unconscious to it within themselves of feeling. And so that was a very interesting thing for me to digest. But what I would say is like, it's all about the feeling. It's all about what it feels like to you, not what it physically looks like. And I think one of the matrices, the webs of lies, the old templates that we've been taught is, what does it look like? How does it logically play out, instead of how does it somatically feel through every cell in your being? And again, that's why I always go back to the eyes. You just have to look in someone's eyes and you can truly see if they're happy or not, if they're truly radiating light, if they're truly, or if they're just entangled in these beliefs and these words that sound pretty and it's like word salad. How are they actually feeling? So that's again why I kind of go back to like the cacao, the rose oil, that all makes you feel so much. So much. I don't even know where the question was that we started with, but that's my
this is exactly where we're meant to be. Because one of the things that's present for me is just, like feeling your highest timeline. Because one of the bodies of work that I do, and I like, as you were sharing, I was recognizing how masculine and engineering my approach is towards, because I help people, I take them on this internal like vision quest, right? And it's building out a life, like your vision, across 12 different dimensions of your life. And sneakily, well, not so sneakily, I've built it across 12 different, like all the houses of the zodiac, right? Because they all represent certain things in your life. So we build out a vision across all different, but before we even embark on that, we go through your astrological chart, we go through your human design, we go through your gene keys, then we look at your core values, and then we look at your strengths. So all 5 of those domains come together to find the authentic you, and then we build the vision based on that. But as I'm saying all of that, I'm recognizing it's a beautiful quest to go on. I mean, you discover yourself, but it's not that heady, but it is very structured, right? In terms of how it helps you build out a vision. And I'm hearing what you're saying is yes, and like, you could just somatically feel into all of it, which is a really beautiful invitation and reminder as well, that there is this entire I'm going to call it more feminine approach, right? Which is much more like felt sense, somatic, and actually and as I'm speaking, I'm coming to the realization that this is probably helping you uncover with some structure to excavate and dive in, and then help with some structure to, build out. Whereas what you're pointing to is actually it's always pulsating actually underneath it all anyway. You can just access it. And for some people, I'm sure this is helpful, but this is also like, wow. Like I'm just reveling in that awareness right now, actually.
Yeah. And we need both. Like we totally need both. Like everything that you're saying is accurate and the other is accurate, because again, when I kind of go back to like the matrix in the world, and I think of like, okay, the food industry, and I think of the like sexual industry, and I think of the school system, it's like they're all containers, right? So the school system is a container. It's a masculine structure. The food system is a masculine structure. The problem with the planet is there's no feminine essence in that structure, right? Because when we think of a masculine and feminine dynamic, the masculine holds the feminine. It's the structure. So with the world there's no feminine energy pulsating through any of these structures. And that is what this New Earth template is. It's reshaking up those structures. So the containment isn't what's wrong. The school system the structures aren't wrong. It's what's flowing through them, which is like 0 hertz frequency, artificial polyester trash of energy in those containments and those structures. So containments and structures are holy, they're divine. But if they're not held with that force of creation inside, we've missed the edge, the whole point of what we're creating here. So they're both very important and they're both very valid.
For those people that are unable to feel that pulse, but really want to build that relationship with that pulse underneath it and feel into their highest timeline, you gave us the 3-step prescription before. Is it still the same prescription, or like, is there something that people can do to build that felt sense connection?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's individual for every person and their journey, but I personally will continue to go back to that just to keep it simple, because what I've come to understand when I look at a lot of people and is they're just hurt by life. They're just hurt. They've just locked their hearts away. They're hurt by someone. Maybe it was 20 years ago, someone broke their heart and they've just never opened it. People are just hurt. And so when we ask someone to feel, of course they can't feel if they're hurt. They can't feel, of course they can feel if they're hurt, but they've locked down their capacity to feel because of that hurt. And so Rose and cacao, like when I found cacao many years ago, I was going through grief of someone that passed away, like just heart-shattering, devastating grief. And cacao, I genuinely believe, was the only thing that carried me through that for that month, or that year, sorry. And so these pieces are actually medicine because they're from the earth. Rose is a plant ally. She is a very strong, loving force that teaches you unconditional love. And I really mean unconditional. I genuinely believe I birthed with my surname for a reason. And then we have cacao, that's the same. It's a very unconditional, loving force. And then when I think of the music that I was sharing with you, they're preaching and singing love. Whatever that means to you. Maybe Christian music makes you want to get sick. Whatever music feels love to you. But I think those 3 aspects are the very beautiful way. I'm being shown like an egg just slowly cracking. And like I have an image in the background here, which I got developed, which is like a pink earth, because I truly was shown this vision many years ago, which was, and I visualize this all the time, is if every human on the planet's heart opened, the world would dramatically transform. So every day before I film, I look at this image of really seeing, if I speak from my heart and I transmit this divine light, it is awakening it and remembering it in every single person all over the planet. And that is my hope for this world, that we all unite with that same one web of frequency. And so those are like some practical things that people can do to open it up. I could say, write a letter to the people that have hurt you. But honestly, I feel like the rose, cacao, and just that music will naturally make you remember. It'll naturally bring things up. And it's a felt sensual experience. Oil, smells, coconut tastes, music you can hear, and I feel sometimes it's just great to go straight to the root, which is that you're not actually making it, it's actually a lot easier because you're not going around the whole, it's kind of like, when we're journaling and thinking, it's like we're kind of dancing around the elephant in the room. Whereas these 3 things that I was shown truly are just straight to the root. You're just getting straight into it, and whatever wants to come up comes up. Yeah.
Inspired Soul Lumen Beings, you're obviously loving this podcast, so please do give it a thumbs up and a like. It really helps. And join in on the conversation. We'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What are you taking away from today's conversation with Ella? She's incredibly rich in the diversity of the content that she covers. What's your biggest takeaway? Leave your comment below. She's likely to be back on in the future. If you leave some questions, I can ask them on your behalf next time she's here as well. Back to Ella in today's episode. Little sidebar question, because yourself and myself, we've got certain, like, we both love music, but we've got a relationship with medicine music. But it also seems to be that this Christ, like the music that you are like connected to at the moment, is more Christ oriented. Can I like deduce a couple of lines down from there that there's something like Christ consciousness, just in your awareness at the moment? Is it coming more to the fore? Because I've also found myself actually recently listening to some really gospel-based music, and it's just really singing true in my soul as well. Is there something going on at large? I might not be aware of it, with Christ consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, I totally do feel that. And it's something that has been a very big awakening for me and death as well of what I thought, because I still love spiritual music. I love medicine music. I used to be sitting in circle every week. I was very deep in that new age world, ayahuasca and all of this. But the one thing I always found hard was that it was basically implying that I could heal myself. And actually that kind of ruptured this deep loneliness in me of, sometimes I think it's so simple. It's like we're all coming from the one source, right? Bob Marley opened me up to this one love. Like we're all just coming from that one origin, right? And so when I think of like the gospel-based music or Christ consciousness, personally, Christ consciousness has always felt the truest essence of me ever since I was a child. But I don't think of it as in a mental construct. I really believe what's actually happening is there is a divine feminine face of Christ consciousness coming alive, which is that Sophia Christ consciousness, which I feel very much like a face of. And I want to promote that because it's like the rose, it's the feminine face of it, because I don't resonate with a lot of Christian readings. I read the Bible, like I like to read that, but I don't resonate with the words of it. It's very much a mental construct. But what I can't not deny is the feeling I have when I read it. Like I could be reading something that my mind doesn't agree with. My heart's bursting, right? And so I think with a lot of people, I've noticed a lot of people are moving like New Age to Jesus, all this. I think it's all holy and it's all divine, right? But I think what I find interesting about that aspect, what I really see, just the missing piece is, it's all implying that you can do it yourself. I can do it alone. It's you against the world. If you think this way, you're going to manifest this way. If you don't, manifest a partner, God's not going to give it to you. You are in control of your whole life. And that creates so much pressure and stress because you feel you're responsible for everything, that you can't actually rest in the trust, in the knowingness. And you're actually bypassing the greatest force, which is your soul. So essentially, when I speak about this music, it's not necessarily that I believe the words and, what they're teaching. It's what it makes me feel, which is that I'm not alone, that I am connected to a greater force of love. And that's where I ask people to amplify. I'm not really into the rigidity of teachings and right or wrong and this or that. I just go what my body feels, and it loves that type of music. It really, really does. And I think that's the missing piece.
One of the things I'm picking up and just coming to the awareness of is actually other people's faith doesn't need to be the same as my faith, but the fact that they carry a faith and the deep purity of the faith that they're carrying reflects back my own faith.
Totally. That's because it's all the same. It's all the same. And I don't want to tell people to choose one because it creates more division. It's as long as you know in your cells what it is. No one has I really believe this. No one can tell you that is wrong. It's no one's business, like truthfully.
And even as I'm saying the word faith, I'm conscious for some people it's automatically linked to something external beyond them. It doesn't have faith in yourself. I end my meditations with very much as the external. And if it's not, then it's like, if there's something internally within you and you just believe in yourself, it's equally as awesome. What are, how do I not ask about Sophia? I don't know too much about this feminine face of the Christ consciousness of Sophia. There's naturally some questions here. I don't even know where to begin. Can you illuminate us further?
Yeah, when I think of Sophia and it's the face of Christ, it's, I was obsessed with Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary for many, many years. They would come to my bed every night and speak to me. I would study it for years in my little chamber of that feeling because I was addicted to it. I was like, oh my God, this is such a sacred feeling I never felt in church. And for some context for people, I grew up in Ireland, I grew up Christian. My family, I would go to church every Sunday, and, my mom would do the best to bring me, even though she didn't know what we were going there for, because society just told us to go. We would go to church every day in school. There would be Jesus hanging in a cross in every room. We'd have to pray. There was a lot of that pushed on us, and yet there was a lot of distortion. A lot of the male priests in Ireland were sexually abusing the children. There was a lot of weird stuff in Ireland. Ireland was very much completely, I think the word is Catholicized, Christianity just completely took over our land. And there's a lot of repression in Ireland because of that. So I grew up with it very much being a mental rule, right? With Christianity, it's like this construct, and it doesn't negate the fact that a lot of people feel God through it, but a lot of people don't. When I was in church, I was bored out of my head. I didn't feel anything. I was looking at the priest being like, none of the words you're saying feel alive to me. But essentially, when I went on my own path of seeking and of spirituality, what I started to feel was the divine feminine face of what that message was trying to transmit, which is that God is looking after all of us, that Jesus was just here as a representation to remember the light that we are. And essentially that feminine piece is very much taken out of the Bible, of Mother Mary, of Mary Magdalene, of the women's face of carrying. It was very much amplified on Jesus's part, where I see Mary Magdalene, which was his divine union, his divine counterpart, just as much of a valid face as him. And so when I say divine consciousness of Sophia, of the Christ, what I'm really just tuning into is the essence of the mother, the divine mother, which is so needed on the planet, because we have enough, if you think of the planet, it's hurting. And that is a manifestation of us neglecting the divine feminine, which is the mother. So when I journey with the feminine face of Christ, I'm not reading the Bible, I'm not even listening to music, I'm journeying into what the divine mother looks like. And that is, in my opinion, how the world was genuinely meant to be in harmony with. We were meant to be in harmony with nature, right? Women were able to, give birth and create human life and free birth on the land and raise their children. It's an instinctual essence of women to be mothers, to be nurturers. So when I connect to that light, that original blueprint that was designed for women to facilitate motherhood and facilitate the divine feminine healing of medicine, of all these sort of aspects, that comes from connecting to the divine mother, which is the mother of this planet. Because with Christianity, it's very much the father of this planet. It's the masculine, linear lens. Whereas I feel when I tune into God at this higher love, it's a counterpart of the two. It's a dynamic of the two. It's far greater than any of it, but it's creation in motion. And when I connect to that, it's really witnessing the reverence and the honor for the planet, for the earth, for our cycles. You just need to look at nature, and every single part of your life is reflected through that. So, yeah.
Can I ask a little bit about that? Because I've got some symbology dropping in for me as we're talking, as you're sharing. Mary Magdalene, the mother of Christ?
No, Mother Mary is his mother, but Mary Magdalene is the wife or the partner of Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting. Really interesting. Because I'm also, what's dropped in for me was just how structured the masculine force of Christ consciousness is with the symbol of the cross. It's it literally embodies structure. But then there's also there's got to be a space holding for the structure as well, and that dynamic between the two. Really profound. Just to feel into that. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think one of the things underneath there is, I can feel in this conversation at the moment, it's the essence of connecting to faith through whatever it is for you, but it's more through a felt sense rather than the prescriptive structured sense of what the words are saying in any given domain or space. And just the invitation in and around all that.
Yeah.
You were going to say something? Yeah.
I just feel called to say this right now with that you can find God anywhere. And I think that's been my lesson. It's not being in this high frequency portal and blasting it just to feel it. You can find it in the darkest places of the planet. And that is where most people have found it. I just want to express that, you can find it in the most demonic of places, the most darkest places, the darkest alleyways, the craziest places. It is of access to everyone anywhere. It is not like a hierarchy of places to go, because I know a lot of people, I do travel the world, but a lot of people go to these heightened places to sit on the top of a mountain, to meditate, to connect. And it's no, you can find that literally anywhere. And that's just something I just want to express, because I've studied and listened to a lot of people in the darkest of places, you know, in the Holocaust and people whose families were slaughtered and murdered. And in those places, they found God, you know, in the deepest part of their hearts. So I just want to express that you can find it absolutely anywhere. You do not need anything right now. You don't need to necessarily get the rose oil and get the cacao. You can just find it right now. You know, they're just beautiful tools that I recommend if you have the opportunity to get them.
Touchwood, yeah, that brings us back to one of the conversations we were having earlier in the podcast, and get to mention what I kind of visualize at the moment. I'm not sure if this is an accurate description or not, but I have this felt sense for it, which is it almost feels like there's this ocean trawler of light kind of going through the density of this reality at the moment, just kicking up everybody's karmic stuff as an opportunity for you to, and it's just flicking everything up and you can just clear it. Now's an opportunity, but it's also hitting you splat in the face as well. That's my felt sense at the moment of like just conducting all these podcasts and just speaking to people. It seems like there's a real opportunity. It is really tough at the moment as well for a lot of people. But I see literally like this trawler kind of just moving through everybody's karmic stuff. I wanted to use that as a bit of we're going through some stuff, but what are the hallmarks of the new earth that you were referring to earlier? I'd love to tuck back into. What are some of the hallmarks that you see of like, when we will have arrived, we will notice, we will see?
Community. It's a big one. I think that's the biggest one by far, because we're all living in these boxed areas. Like even the way women raise children, you have children, right? I think that women, we were not meant to do it alone. You know, we were all meant to do this in community. We were all meant to nurture one another and look after one another. And it's so hard for us to grasp because it's so far distant from the life the Matrix has created for us, which is this very individualistic society. Like you pay your taxes, you make your living, you know, that's the reality, the way we live in. But I think the first indicator is not what we think. It's not like a rainbow in La La Land, because what's going to happen is that there will be a lot of situations that are going to be forced upon us through natural environments, through natural disasters, all these things externally, which I don't want to bring too much preface to, because the end result of that is people are going to have to come together. And we're going to have to learn to co-create with one another as a community. So the first thing is when community starts coming alive, you know something is right. You know something is right, which is you creating a podcast, a community. You know, it's people connecting. People are craving community. And that is the first step. You know, there's a vision I have of like a real new earth, you know, which I would love. And it's something that I know I will live in that harmonious way of, you know, free birthing on the land and having, you know, families coming together and we're cooking together, eating together. It's a very communal based living. But for the average person, the everyday person, what I would say is community. When I was doing psychic readings for years, all I kept seeing from their angels was start circles, start community, start bringing people together. And it's so comical because it's like we've been so hijacked mentally with like, oh, cult, you know, like, oh, it's a cult, you know, it's like the first thing a lot of people think of a circle or a community, because that on some level, you know, the cults are very real, but there's also a dark agenda to that of anytime people come together and live in a new paradigm, that's a cult. You know, it's an infiltration of a mental paradigm. Not to say that there are real cults, which I've studied them all because I was, shocked about all of them. But it is just a communal living, whether that's you're living in a neighborhood and every Sunday you guys will sit on the street and eat food together. You invite people. It's getting that taste, and it's not going to be easy. You know, community, it's not like everyone's just going to, people overpower each other. There'll be dynamics, but it's part of the evolution that we have to go on. And it's the messy part of it, which is actually beautiful. But I would say for people, it's really just community. And I all I'm really being shown is community right now in my third eye, because it's simple. It's, again, us not focusing on what a new earth should look like, but what can we create right now that is a stepping stone in the right direction.
I mean, I can't help but smile, and this is going to sound like a plug, so pardon me for that element of it, but literally a couple of weeks ago, we started this Inspired Evolution Circle online. And
Congratulations.
you use the words, I mean, I feel it's been really interesting because I'm Virgo, so I love structure.
Are you?
So I'm like, we've got to put some structure.
That's my favorite star sign.
You reckon? Oh, I'm flattered.
Taurus.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm Taurus rising. Touch wood. We get along. But there's that element of, I was called to put together a space and just say, hey, It's called the Inspired Evolution Circle. Join us online. Let's just sort of, you guys, we like 100 founding members, let's co-create and see what happens. I'm just along for the ride with you. And it was really like awkward for me to sort of just, you know, because we've got a podcast, we're structured, you know, it's organized at 2 episodes a week, like, you know, it's all very structured. And this was very much like this open, heartfelt sense of like, I don't know, I'm just being called and trusting. And it's been phenomenal. We catch up every week in these Zoom rooms and like we're connecting. And the youngest person I think is 19, the oldest person is like 85. And there's this incredible, like, you know, the transaction of wisdom from the young to the old, holding space, and just, I'm just in awe of what's being created. And I can feel it. Everybody's yearning to support, but not take up too much space. And everyone's really respectful. And the element of community, it's just been really present. And I just have this real felt sense of what you're sharing. I think we all have these sort of constructs of what we think it could, should, and, you know, would look like. But I'm noticing like not having any structure around it and just kind of going, what naturally wants to emerge has given birth to more beauty than I could even ever visualize. Like one of the things the community came up with was a prayer circle where people put in their prayers, and as long as we get 8 or more hearts behind it, inspired by Lynn McTaggart's work, then we know that we're all championing each other's prayer and the intention field is ready for that prayer to manifest. That's not something my left brain logic would have ever come up with, you know. It's just these really beautiful spaces that are opening up. And I'll stop talking about it after this, but there's this lady that literally is traveling around the US in an RV, and this other lady has an abundance of land but has been feeling, and they've both been kind of feeling lonely. And this lady's now just gone and parked her RV on this, and they're, you know, it's coming off online into the physical. And yeah, I'm just really inspired for what community looks and feels like as we continue to progress down this path. So
yeah, that's so beautiful. Yeah. And one thing I want to say, which I truly believe, I don't know if it's because I'm a Libra, because Libras really value connection, but I genuinely think the richest thing in life is connection, like true soul connection. Like not money, like it's human being, friendship, relationship, love. Like how deep are your connections? And for a lot of people listening, I feel that, you know, maybe they've never experienced a soul connection. They don't even know what that feels like to have someone love you beyond the flesh of what you have to offer, but see into the depths of your soul. And for me, I am surrounded with soul friendships. Like every single one of my friendships and relationships are the deepest, most loving, most real, raw connections. And that, I think, is what people are yearning for more than anything right now. So anyone that can facilitate that opportunity or that opening for connection is priceless. So I just want to honor you for that. That's so beautiful.
I mean, when I speak to you, connection is my highest core value. So there's such a resonance between yourself and myself. I feel so honored to be a part of these conversations. One of the things, perfectly, with connection, you mentioned coming into today's podcast that you had this real felt sense of like, yep, I feel really ready, really primed. I can feel my connection to God, and I'm really excited for today's episode. And I just wanted to sort of give that some space just in case we hadn't spoken to anything that, you know, where you were at coming into the podcast. Was there something that you felt really compelled to share that was there that we haven't potentially elicited or spoken to?
What's coming through very strongly is just for everyone to realize that you deserve love, and like truly letting the idea that you deserve, like that word keeps flashing in my eyes of like, you deserve love, and letting yourself learn that receptivity of that love. You don't have to act a certain way, look a certain way, be a certain way, but just fully anchor in that you deserve love, because that's going to be a whole recoding, a whole rewiring for society if they can really wire that in. And the greatest way to do that is to receive love 24/7 within yourself. So you realize that, oh my God, the lies that we've been living, the blueprints we've been living haven't been in an alignment and integrity with our truth. So as long as people just know that they're worthy and deserving of tapping into that light, that's all I want, you know, that's all I ask for.
I find it really poetic because I feel like last episode we were learning how to call upon angels, and in this particular episode it feels like we're learning how to call upon God.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Whatever love is to you. You know, I love angels still. I feel them. Like even yesterday I was having a call with a woman and like we were talking, it was about a cacao thing I wanted to work on with the woman and you know, it wasn't a reading or anything. I just felt her angels like coming to me and they were like, tell her this. And I was like, I'm sorry, I just have to say this. And, you know, just like burst through because angels are so loving. They're like there wanting to say, which I find funny, but I literally see angels as messengers of God. I've always seen them as that. They're just unique lights of the one, you know, and I see it all as one, which is beautiful. But yeah, they're always there too.
If there was something that you think God would want to say to everybody, and I know that's a lot putting God's words in your mouth, but why not then as well? You know, we are all incarnations of God. To sort of support people through this time, is it that message that you deserve love?
It's interesting. Just what I'm seeing is evolution is perfect. Evolution is perfect. Everything is perfect. Yeah, your evolution is perfect in the messiness and in all of it. There's no right or wrong.
Trust.
Yeah.
Trust.
Yeah.
Oh, Ella. My goodness. Thank you so much for sharing yourself so abundantly here today. I'll put a link to everything you discussed in the show notes below, and not least of all, your YouTube channel as well. These energy updates that you do for every month as well are really, really helpful just to get a bit of a sense check and a bearings of where we're all headed and how we're navigating through these times as well. And I really appreciate those updates as well. Thank you so much for sharing yourself with us again here. As always, people know, and I mean, if they don't know your story, they can tune into episode 1 that we did with yourself. You've been on such an incredible journey, and all of this stands on the shoulders of the incredible sister that you are. So I just thank you for your time, of course, and also thank you so much for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, truly.
Inspired souls, lumen beings, you've made it through to the end of another incredible episode. Thank you so much for your inspirations to evolve. It is such an honor to be your brother walking this path by your side. You've watched this far through, so please, you have liked this video. Please do give it a thumbs up and a like just to vote for the video. More content like this online, spiritual content, uplifting and awakening and inspiring. Just give the video a thumbs up. It really helps. And also to all of you that are subscribed to the channel, I want to take a massive moment out to just thank you all. Everything you see around here, it's powered and empowered by your subscription to this channel. Thank you so much for your incredible love and your incredible support. None of this would be possible without you. To all of you that haven't yet subscribed, please do take a moment. As I'm saying the word subscribe, the button below is lighting up in the colors of the Inspired Evolution. Please hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon, and join the movement promoting love, positivity, and wisdom like this around the planet together. Join the community. Talking about community, if you want to dive in even deeper, we have the Inspired Evolution Circle, link to that in the description below. If you want to connect even deeper with the community around here in a really safe, beautiful online space, that's the Circle. You'll find links to that below. And on screen now, for you to dive in even deeper into your inspirations to evolve, Ella's previous conversation where she teaches you how to actually call upon angels. It's been one of the most well-received podcasts here on the Inspired Evolution. A really great conversation, especially when you're feeling isolated or going through things on your own. And another couple of episodes on screen now for you to take your inspirations to evolve even deeper. So go on, take your pick and make your click. I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you there.